Hey everyone, so this video is to review order of operations, which we learned in the beginning. So remember, with order of operations, we use this anytime we have multiple operations. You may see multiplication, division, adding and subtracting all in one expression. This is when order of operation comes into play. And just like the name says, order of operations, there is a specific order we have to use to solve the different operations. So the first thing we would do is start with our parentheses and or brackets. You may have one or the other. You will solve everything that's inside of those. Once you've done that, then you're going to multiply and divide. And you do that in order from left to right, so whatever comes first. So if you have division first, then you would divide and then you can multiply. Or if you have multiplication and then a division operation, you would do multiplication and then division. I spelled that wrong. And then the last thing would be to add and subtract. And again, just like with multiplication and division, you add and subtract from left to right. So whatever comes first is what you would do first. All right, so now we're going to go through a few examples. You are free to write these down as I go through them, or you can just kind of follow along. I'm going to be asking you questions, so you're free just to simply call out and answer these. But please make sure you do pay attention, because you will be doing some practice problems on your own, and then you will have a final assignment at the end that will be turned in and graded. So let's start with our first one. And this one's going to be pretty easy. We're going to do 3 times 6 plus 8. All right, and just like we have up here, we're going to follow our order. Now, of course, when you're doing this at home or on a test, a quiz, a classroom assignment, whatever the case may be, you're not going to have this with you. So I'm actually going to get rid of this, and I'm going to show you what you can do instead. So you can write right off to the side, P, which stands for parentheses, MD, which stands for multiply and divide, AS, which stands for add and subtract. So now this helps me to remember my order. So again, the first thing I have to do is look for parentheses. I don't have any parentheses, and just in case you're like, well, what are parentheses? They look like this, and they would have something in the middle of them. We don't have any parentheses, so we can cross that out. Next thing we're going to do is look for multiplication and division, which I have right here. So the first thing I need to do is multiply 3 times 6. 3 times 6 is 18. So I'm going to bring my 18 down, and then I'm going to bring down my plus 8. All right, I have nothing else to multiply. I have nothing to divide, so I can cross these out now. And then the last thing is to add and subtract. I have one addition sentence, and that's 18 plus 8, which is going to give me 26. And that's my final answer. So 3 times 6 plus 8 is 26. All right, we're going to do another one. All right, here we have a larger one. We have 5 times 3 plus 20 divided by 4. Again, I have more than one operation, which means I have to follow order of operations. So again, I'm going to write my P for parentheses, MD for multiply and divide, AS for add and subtract. First thing I'm going to look for are my parentheses. Do I have any? No. Cross that out. Next, I'm going to look for multiplication and division. I have multiplication right here, but then I also have division right here. So which one do I do first? Here you cannot just decide to do whichever one you like best. You still have to follow order of operations in the rules. And the rules state you do whichever one comes first. So 5 times 3 is first. So I'm going to do that first. 5 times 3 is 15. And then I'm going to bring down the rest of my expression. Plus 20 divided by 4. Now I still have some division to do, so now I'm going to do that. 20 divided by 4 is 5. So I bring that down, and then I'm going to bring down plus 15. And you must always, always, always bring it down where it's at. You can't decide to put the 20 divided by 4. You can't put this on this side of the equation, put the 15 over here. You always just bring it straight down from where it was. All right, I have no more multiplication and no more division, so I can cross that out. Now I'm going to look for addition and subtraction, and that's all I have left. 15 plus 5 is 20. All right, let's try one more. All right, now we have 4 times 5 minus 3 times 2. Again, order of operation, so what's going to go down the side? P, M, D, A, S. All right, parentheses, multiply, divide, and subtract. Again, let's look for parentheses first, which I do have right here. All right, so I have to solve what's in the parentheses first. You always, always, always go with whatever in the parentheses first. All right, so 3 times 2 is 6. I'm going to bring that down, and then I'm going to bring down the rest of my expression. I have no more parentheses, so I can cross this out. Now I'm going to look for multiplication and division, which I have. 4 times 5 is 20. And then I'm going to bring down my minus 6. Nothing else to multiply, nothing to divide. I can cross that out. And last but not least, I'm going to look for addition and subtraction. I do not have any addition, but I do have subtraction. 20 minus 6 is 14, which is going to be my final answer because I have nothing left to solve. All right, here we have our next one, 2 times 2 plus 3 times 3 minus 8. Again, we're going to put our parentheses, multiply, divide, add, and subtract. Add and subtract on the side. All right, so again, we know we have to start with parentheses, and here we have a lot in our parentheses. So I'm sure you're asking, well, can I just do 2 times 2, then plus 3 times 3 and just go from there? You can, but you have to still follow order of operations. You solve everything in the parentheses first before we can work outside of that, but you still have to follow order of operations within that. So inside of our parentheses, we have 2 times 2. Use another color. We have 2 times 2, and we also have 3 times 3. And of course, we know with order of operations, multiplication would be the first thing we'd have to do after parentheses, of course. And I have 2 sets of multiplication expressions in here. I still have to follow the rule which says start from left to right. So whichever one comes first is the one you do first. So the first one we have is 2 times 2, which is 4. So I can write my 4. And then I'm going to bring down plus 3 times 3. And I'm still going to put my parentheses around here. Put your minus 8 on the outside of that, because I'm not done solving what's inside of the parentheses. You can get rid of your parentheses once you've come to a final number and there's nothing else to solve within that. So next I have 3 times 3, which is 9. I'm going to bring down my plus 4. Again, I still have something to solve, so I'm going to put those parentheses back. All right, now I can add 4 plus 9 inside of my parentheses, which is 13. And now I no longer need my parentheses because I'm left with a final number. And my last step would be to do 13 minus 8, which is going to be 5. And I would just like to circle my final answer because we do have so much work in here. Of course, you don't have to, but it's always helpful. So that way, who's ever looking at your work, they know what you're doing or what your final answer is. All right, here is our final problem or expression. If you notice, we have these little, looks like a half a box, or like the rectangle wasn't completed around this part of the expression. These are called brackets. Brackets kind of trump your parentheses. You can even put a B on top of that P. You won't always have brackets, but when you do, they come before the parentheses, okay? And just like parentheses, you still have to follow everything. You still have to follow order of operations inside of it. And you do everything first before you can move outside of the brackets. All right, so inside of my brackets, I'm not even going to focus on this minus 10 right now. I'm going to save that for last. And inside my brackets, I have 3 times 2 plus 5. Again, I'm still going to follow order of operations. So first I'm going to look to see if I have any parentheses, which I do. 3 times 2. So I'm going to do that first. 3 times 2 is 6. And then I'm going to bring down my plus 5. I still have an expression, so I'm going to still bring those brackets down because I haven't come to a final number. And then put my minus 10 on the outside. Next, I'm going to do 6 plus 5 inside of my brackets because I have not finished that yet. Again, you keep working inside your brackets or even your parentheses until you come to a final number. 6 plus 5 is 11. I have a final number, so I do not need to write my brackets anymore. And then I'm going to minus 10. 11 minus 10 is 1. So my final answer is 1. All right, guys, I hope this helped. Now you're going to go back into the slide that you were just on to work out the problems by yourself. Refer back to this if you ever need help. And make sure you work it all out in your notebook. Again, you're going to have an assignment due when you come to the end of all of the slides. So make sure you are working everything out. Good job, guys.